Should you actually have kids? It's a pretty tough question to answer. Some people are concerned that by having kids, they are actually selfishly destroying the planet, and others are saying that, hey, if we don't have kids, we're just gonna go extinct, and we'll destroy the planet the other way, by not existing. And then there's other people that just pretend to care about issues, but just end up doing whatever the hell they want, and then there's other people who are just single. Is the child-free movement going too far? This guy, like, interviews a bunch of people. It's pretty cool. Let's check it out.
Do you think you'll regret it if you never had kids?
No.
I am not sure if I want this environment to my kids.
The idea of being pregnant just does not appeal to me.
If someone else is paying for the kids.
Not to mention easy access to birth control.
People are dying.
My bloodline ends with me.
America has declining birth rates. Why do you think this is happening? Because today there's two schools of thought.
The number of humans on Earth needs to go down, or it will be our downfall.
The planet cannot support more people.
Can our planet even sustain nearly 8 billion now and 10 billion by 2050?
How are we going to feed everybody, get water to everybody, provide power to everybody? How are we going to do this?
Or are we focusing on the wrong problem?
This is the most commonly misunderstood situation. What we face is population collapse.
The size of family shrinks precipitous, like below replacement. There's going to be a terrible shortage of young people.
And so are we headed towards decline and even worse, extinction? So I'm out here.
Okay, so I gotta say, like, these two different school of thoughts, like overpopulation or underpopulation. And honestly, I'm not a scientist. I don't like look at all the data and all of that, and I don't trust anybody either. So probably, like, I think individual decisions should be made on the fact that, do you actually want kids or whatever? I don't think you should necessarily care about what the other 8 billion people on the planet are doing. I feel like data is always skewed in some way to, you know, push an agenda, as I've always said. So I don't really care. Just, it should be a personal decision.
Today, and the question I'm asking is, do you want kids?
I have kids, but if I didn't have a kid, I'd still want a kid. The only way we're gonna survive is to embrace being human. Just because we can do something, it doesn't mean we should.
I already had kids.
Have you always wanted kids when you were growing up?
Yes.
Would you want your kids to have kids?
If it's right for them.
By the time I'm 35,
That's a good answer. If it's right for them, right? Like, if you, I don't think anybody should be taking away, like, the personal choice of somebody to have kids. Like, you shouldn't really force someone to have a kid. Like, if a family just wants to live their life and not have a kid, I don't think there's any point in making them have one. Personally, I don't know. Never gotten to that stage. We'll figure it out, you know? Figure it out as it goes.
Mature at that point.
Do you know how many kids you want?
We'll do one adopted, one natural kid, natural birth. It's the first one I want to adopt to skip the first 5
Like a little trial run?
Yeah, trial run. Exactly.
Trial
Return it if you
run.
don't like it.
100%.
Oh, I don't know.
Imagine being the trial run kid, bruh. Jeez.
A lot of money that I wouldn't be spending on myself.
I don't think I'm equipped to raise a
Okay, you should not have a kid. Holy shit.
through
Okay.
all the, that things I can hardly deal with myself.
I like to go out a lot. I can only take care of one person.
I'm a musician, and so it's really hard
Okay.
for me to even think about caring for others at this time.
Do you eventually want to have kids at some age?
Maybe if someone else is paying for the kids.
But it's your kid.
I need to do some healing before I impart any of those things I've gone through on another little human. It's not that I don't want kids. You know, I'm a 39-year-old woman, and at this point in my life, there's just still work I need to do, and it's just not really maybe in my cards.
Do you feel more free not having kids?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can travel whenever I want. I can spend my money all on me.
In my like early 20s.
Yeah, I can, okay. Yeah, obviously you get a lot of perks to not having kids. I mean, that's a huge responsibility you don't have to take care of. It's interesting, there's two sides to that argument as well. Some people say that having kids is selfish, and some people say that it's selfless. Because, you know, if you have kids, your entire life becomes centered around those kids, and you have to give up a lot of time, you know, kind of raising them and all that. So in that sense, it's selfless, but it's also selfish because you're bringing a life into the world who, I don't know, may not want to be there or something. But I don't think there's not many people watching this who'd be like, I would prefer not to be born. Unless you're in a really, really bad situation, but it kind of fluctuates usually. Usually people are happy being alive, right?
I wanted kids really badly, but that was before I started having so much fun.
What's like a typical weekend look like for you?
Like go to a music festival or like an EDM or house show.
Yeah, them kids, right? Do you want kids?
I think it's very selfish. Looking at the world and how it is right now, global warming and all that kind of stuff, I am not sure if I want this environment to my kids.
The climate, like climate change and everything, that has obviously gotten worse over our generation. So the problems we're facing nowadays aren't really the same that people were facing decades ago.
Because for the first time in history, people are questioning if it's even morally okay to have children.
Climate change is a big factor in why she's not having children.
We're not sure that we're gonna have kids because we don't
Okay, alright, I'm just gonna say, I don't think any of these people actually give a shit about the world's issues. Let's be honest, okay? If you're gonna decide whether to have kids or not, it's not gonna be based on if it's good for the world or not. You're gonna be like, do I actually want kids and do I want to take care of this child? Or you're not really gonna think about the world at all. I feel like this is a bunch of like, hey, I'm doing it for the world. In reality, you just don't want to have kids. Like, I feel like, be honest about it, you know?
Bring our kids into a world like this.
It is not okay to have children.
The lives of children are going to be very difficult.
It's impacting everyone. The number of babies being born is inching closer and closer to 2.1 per woman, which is a replacement number that prevents the population from shrinking.
For the first time ever, there are more women without children at 30 than there are women with children.
So in short, people ain't having sex. And with some countries already facing the consequences, we must question the social implications of an increasingly isolated society.
Okay, so I always thought that this problem came from the fact that women are getting way more educated now, and they're, I don't know, they're more focused on their careers, and they're earning more as well. So, I don't know, they might want partners who earn as much as them, which is hard to find because women are destroying men in like college and all of that. So, I don't know. It seems like that's why it's going more the career route rather than the family route. But obviously, personal decisions from everyone. We'll see. See how it plays out.
Is this all legit or just fear mongering? Is the world even heading towards collapse or overpopulation, or both at the same time? And a matter of fact, do I even see myself starting a family? Like, I deadass still live out of a fucking suitcase. I guess we gon' see. Starting with America. America has declining birth rates. Why do you think this is happening?
In our parents' generation, most people got married younger, with women being caretaker, like cooking, watching your children, like being a stay-at-home mom, like that was your job. Nowadays, it's like women like to work. To be a stay-at-home mom, like you have to have money.
Honestly, everything was cheaper back then. You could get a house for much cheaper. Everything was just more affordable. But also, I feel like a lot of people in this generation are trying to be successful on their own.
That is really true. I completely forgot about this because so all the salaries have barely gone up. And all the expenses have gone up a lot. I remember reading somewhere that 20 years ago or something, with a cashier's or a regular cashier's salary, you could eventually buy a house. You could save up enough or something over the course of like 20, 30 years. But now, even with two parents like working, it's hard to actually provide for your child because, I mean, you need to, I mean, both, like, since when do both parents need to be working, right, to provide for a family? Before it was just like one, usually the father that was working, and they could take care of the mom. But now both need to work to make enough money to live a reasonable lifestyle, right? Because the expenses have just gone super high. So it's a bit of a dilemma now. And, you know, I've always maintained that 95% of people who become parents are not fit to become parents. That's just my extremely radical take over here, just because I personally believe everyone's a complete moron. You know, that's just me. I feel like there's so many idiotic parents that I don't even know how they get by. They just kind of wing it, and their child turns into a complete moron, and they're all fine with it. I could never do that, but yeah.
Own and creating these startups, which you really don't have time to take care of a baby.
The declining of birth rates is people planning more their lives, their future, and their family life.
Why do you think this is happening to our country?
People are dying. I don't know. I went to dark places. I'm sorry. But I mean, like, I think people are maybe more career focused. Like, people are getting kids when they're older.
People are realizing, like, I have a future to have before I even have a family. I'm saving till I actually finish my goal, and then I'll have kids after that. You know.
Okay, so this is a point. So as I said, people are way more career focused, and I think one of the problems is people are infamously really bad at estimating or predicting what will actually make them happy, right? And I've been a victim of this as well. I was like, I mean, everybody has that dream, right? If I hit $1 million in income in my bank account, then I will be happy. If I get this job, I will be happy. If I become a YouTuber, I will be happy. If I get this relationship, then I will be happy. But it never comes, okay? Happiness doesn't come from direct, like, the moment you achieve your goals. Happiness is always in the process, right? So that's why you gotta find your happiness in the day-to-day and just enjoying all of that stuff. It's not, so you don't become happy when you reach your peak physique, for example, in the gym. It's like, not like one day where like, oh, now I have a six-pack, now I'm happy. It's never gonna happen. It's just, and regardless, you have to keep going to the gym to maintain it, you know? It's just this cycle. You have to enjoy the process of going to the gym and, you know, eating healthy and all of that. Otherwise, you'll never be happy. Same thing when you're working towards your goals. It's but people are infamously horrible at estimating that. They feel like, okay, I'm gonna go get this goals and then I'll pursue my family dreams, but then it's probably too late, and you know, things like that happen. So I don't know. When you get into a lot of like philosophy like me, you start thinking about a lot of things really early. And I don't know. I talk like an 88-year-old man. You guys know me, so
Able to be financially stable enough to where my family is not suffering.
It's interesting too because it's not just America, but a lot of developed nations. Do you think then this is a sign of societal decline?
Absolutely, and we should be very alarmed.
Definitely, and good for us. I think some destruction is necessary for like things to grow into new places.
There's a lot of people who just want to go out and have fun, experience their lives. Parents will say, hey, don't have kids at my age. Go out and have fun.
In order to provide
So that's another thing people don't get. They think going out and partying is going to be more fun and more fulfilling than actually having children and stuff. Now, obviously, that can possibly be the case, but there's a difference between, you know, short-term pleasure or whatever and, you know, long-term satisfaction. And most people who'd have kids probably would say that, you know, children have brought them more like long-term satisfaction, but obviously I haven't had, so I couldn't really talk on it. But yeah, I do think people just chase the party high, you know, in school and college and all that, and then they realize, whoops, didn't achieve anything I actually wanted to do. As someone who's pretty much sacrificed everything to achieve all my goals, I could say it's the better route. Okay, I'm pretty happy with myself. So
good life to your kids. It's expensive nowadays.
Do you think in America we're prioritizing more about getting the bag rather than building like a strong family unit?
For some people, you got to get the bag first to build a strong family unit. For what some people want for their family, like you got to be making money to have that.
It seems like the cost of having kids is a big factor. But hasn't this always been the case even during our parents' generation? Why do you think this is happening where my generation, like Gen Z and millennials, are having kids a lot later in life?
People are preferring to live their own lives, some selfish lives, with no kids, with no problems, with more money to spend with themselves.
I think that you're exposed to a lot more of what's going on.
Having kids means taking away from my freedom. What would you say to that as someone who's been a mother?
Oh, it definitely takes away from your freedom.
So did you ever regret it during that process?
No, I found it difficult at times, and sometimes, you know, you would daydream and like wonder like, ooh, what would life be like? But then there's like your kid, man. Like I have massive love for my girls.
yeah, I think life is always going to be greener on the other side. So if you have kids, you're going to be angry at the freedom that you lost, obviously, and you'll see all these single people having fun, living their lives, you know, drinking that alcohol, blah, 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 smoking, all that. But, you know, there's the single people who are jealous of you and your relationship and you having kids as well, okay? So I'd argue they're even more jealous of you. But, you know, society will always tell you that goals, like having kids is not like a successful thing, right? What's actually successful is earning an X amount of money in your bank account and getting all these status symbols. And I think nowadays, people are not happy with just being able to get by in life because everything is being pushed towards the extremes, right? It's like, I need to have all these designer clothes. I need to show this lifestyle to the internet. And it's annoying, okay? I've been a subject of it as well. People, like, anything you don't show on the internet, people will just start assuming about you, which is goddamn annoying, all right? And it's like if you don't put a Lambo in your video, you haven't achieved anything in your life, which is completely ridiculous. I feel like it just shows complete insecurity about yourself, and you need to show that, hey, I earned this money, look at my things. And then similarly for like any relationship, hey, I have a relationship, look at her, she's so pretty, look at this. Like, it's a stupid, ridiculous complex, and that's why I always say 95% of society is completely, utterly brain dead, which is why I don't listen to anyone. I try to listen to a select few intellectual people that I found on the internet and try to get my values from them. And mainly just listen to myself and correct myself whenever I go wrong, you know? I would say if I put out a poll on a life-changing decision and 95% of people say something and 5% say the otherwise, I wouldn't just go with the majority decision, because majority of people have no idea about your life, okay? So you have to make your own informed decisions.
For them, it's like being in person, whereas like us, like social media, like Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, we can connect more easily.
Do you think we're more connected though?
I think that maybe just like access to technology has just shown us like how much more there is out there.
And look, it seems paradoxical, but is this infinite access to potential options and technology the direct contributor to our falling birth rates?
Yes, it is. Okay, believe it or not. Okay, there was actually an experiment done. So basically, there's like these 2 ice cream stands. One have 3 flavors, like vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, and another stand has 50 flavors. Okay, medium vanilla, extra vanilla, you know, blah blah blah. So like 50 different flavors, and it still had the 3 regular vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. So it just had the same as the other ice cream stand, but with plenty more options. And guess which stand got way more sales? The one with only 3 options, because whenever customers came to the second ice cream stand, they had decision paralysis. They're just like, wait, but what if I get the extra, and then after they get the extra one, extra vanilla, suppose, and then they have it, they feel dissatisfied. It's like, oh, maybe the regular vanilla was better. Oh, maybe this extra different flavor was better. And even though it tastes the exact same, they feel worse about themselves. That's the law. This is the law of human nature. We thrive by comparison, okay? If everybody around you is a millionaire and you're the only one who's not a millionaire, you will be depressed. Even if you're earning $700,000, okay? You will be depressed because everyone around you is a millionaire and they're all better than you. Now, if you're earning 100K and everyone around you is earning 50K, you'll feel like the king of the world, okay? Because humans thrive on comparison. And with the introduction of social media, we are getting railed, okay? Because how are you going to compare with the greatest people on the goddamn planet, okay? You see The Rock on steroids and you're going to be like, hey, I stand no chance, all right? And you're just going to be depressed. Is what it is, okay? Comparison is the thief of joy. We've known this from the start. And you just gotta be on your own path, man.
When you're single, everyone's always like, hey, get on a dating app.
What's my #1 opening line on Tinder?
With a click of a button, dating apps presents you a pool of potential partners with an algorithm built to keep you addicted to the promise of finding the one.
I just feel like that she's the one, you know what I'm saying? I FaceTime her a lot, her personality.
Oh, this was so cringe!
Even with the seemingly equal and never before
If
seen
you remember, that guy basically met his online girlfriend IRL and it was the cringiest thing ever, and she just rejected him because he was too short. So cringe.
You find love while taking a shit. The outcomes have been far from equal. What they
guys, unless you're really hot, you're probably better off for wasting your time on Tinder. Yeah.
Found with the Tinder economy.
So the bottom 80% of men are competing for the top. Yeah. So with this is some red pill bullshit, but basically hypergamous nature cringe.
The
it's
bottom
all cringe.
80% of men in terms of attractiveness are competing for the bottom 22% of women, and the top 78% of women are competing for the top 20% of men.
So this right here, right? This is factual information, right? So this is a complete factual information based on like Tinder data and stuff. But then if you ever say it, people will just call you like insanely misogynistic or something. But this is literally human nature, okay? So they'll like we're wired to find the best partner, okay? And people think like, okay, it's so selfish. Why are people doing this? Is like people are so shallow, all of that. But it's human nature. The only way to get past bitterness is to accept what is actually happening, right? But people can't accept the truth, man. Is what it is.
So for those at the top with options.
Also, by the way, don't go on Tinder. Horrible idea. Worst way to find a partner, in my opinion. Just saying. Just not a good idea. I don't know how else you're supposed to do it through because social interaction has been screwed over thanks to dating apps and all this online bullshit. I don't know, man. And also, people think that, okay, the only way you can be happy is to be in a relationship. That's because they've never actually been happy in their entire lives. You can be perfectly happy, even happier than a couple, just being by yourself. People think that, hey, I'll get this relationship and I'm going to have the best time in my entire life. It's not going to change anything about you, okay? You have to be happy yourself first, then seek out a relationship if you even want to. Some people are perfectly fine being alone, okay? It's like, I don't know. Society will always gaslight you into thinking you want something that you don't actually want. Like, the only way I can be happy is I have this Lamborghini right in front of me. It's like, I never even wanted the Lamborghini, but like, all these people think that I should want it, so I should want it. Like, it's so weird. I don't know. People are dumb as hell.
There's a paradox of choice in dating where people are always searching to avoid committing to one person in fear of losing out on someone even better out there. Whereas for most men, it's a different reality.
Over the last decade, the number of men reporting no sex in the last year has tripled.
Compared to past generations who were
30%.
getting jobs, having sex, getting married, and then having kids earlier, almost 1/3 of men under 30 today haven't had sex in the last year or haven't had sex at all. And with the
So
rise of AI,
this is another thing. Like, society will glorify sex so much to the point where it's like this heavenly goal that everyone should have, but it's nothing. It's some primal, disgusting bullshit, to be honest. Like, I don't know where this notion came from. It's just basically anything that's popularized in the media, your brain is gaslit into thinking you want this exact same thing, but in the end, it's pretty meaningless. It's just a little vigorous fucking activity that doesn't really mean anything at all. But obviously people have it wired in their brain like, oh my god, I must do this. This is the only way. This is the definition of success. But then they end up in these horrible, disgusting, horrible relationships. There's a 50% divorce rate. People don't know what love actually is. People think love actually exists when it actually doesn't. It's like a deal, a commitment you make to the other that, hey, despite the fact that I'll probably like someone else, I will stick with you because that is my responsibility to you. People think that, okay, no, I only stick with you because I love you at this point, and then if that love fades later on, it's okay for me to leave. It's not okay. All right. The whole point is that it's a deal you're making with someone. Okay. You're saying that, hey, you're good enough to the point where I will dedicate my entire life to you, despite the fact that there's gonna be younger, more attractive people than you. I don't care. All right. I've made this deal, and I have my responsibility to you. But people are like, once that spark fades, they just instantly leave. People are dumb as hell. As I said, everybody's stupid. Only listen to Pegasus. Anyways.
not only is there genuine fear that automation will start replacing people's jobs, from truck drivers to even lawyers, it may even start replacing human companionship.
The whole point of a robot
This is scary.
You can have a relationship with it.
I stopped seeing her as an it, and more as not a person, of course, but something more.
And so, are we raising a generation of men who are risk averse and not developing the competencies required for adult responsibilities like starting a family?
I saw you, and I thought you were, and I was wondering if I could get your. No, forget it. Yeah.
Are we at a point where adults?
Cringe! Oh my god, that's so cringe. Also, it's gonna be hard, man. This generation is so weird. We've never seen this before. All these, like, 18-year-old girls just starting OnlyFans instantly, like, they're not the type of people that gonna go on to have kids later. It's just, like, they've kind of sacrificed it all for that money rush and all that. Oh, it's gonna be rough for a lot of people out there, and you gotta be careful and make informed decisions before you rush headfirst into anything, you know? And there's a lot of lucrative things people will tell you, oh, you can get rich instantly, but there's always a trade-off in life, okay? With everything you do. All the people you see at the top, you know, they've sacrificed their entire life to get good at this one thing, okay? They do nothing else, all right? If you see all these top YouTubers or something, look, they're like, that's all they do, you know? You gotta realize that. It's like, you think they have ideal lives, but half the things you're doing, they're not doing at all because they're spending all this time making their videos and stuff like that. Same thing with actors or musicians, same thing. It's like people only see the good side.
Adolescence is becoming an extension of childhood rather than the beginning of adulthood. Shut up, bro. Come on. I'm grown. And so it's important to consider that for every action, there's always an equal and opposite reaction.
Newton's
so
third law of
how is
motion.
all this impacting women and ultimately the future of our population? Do you think people look down on being a mom today? The reason why I ask this is because you
Yes, because they're dumb.
saying that you want to be a stay-at-home mom, like that's like a bad thing.
To be a stay-at-home mom, like, you have to have money. Unless your one partner is able to pull for the both of you and your family, like, you cannot be a stay-at-home mom.
I think a lot of people like glamorize motherhood, but then I think a lot of people have started dissing people who are mothers or who embrace motherhood. I don't know, I've been seeing like a lot of TikToks of people who, once they have children, it causes like stress in the marriage.
I don't know if you are on TikTok, but there's a whole thing with like the girl with like the list of like reasons why you should not have kids.
And this TikTok list by Unique Thoughts is a compilation of over 350 reasons to never have a child.
Me showing the militia document. Oh my god, what is in here? Kidney failure. What? Why is kidney failure in there? I just looked at a random one and I see kidney failure number 107. Your coochie changes shape. So this is, okay, if you actually, I mean, okay, some of these reasons are so ridiculous that yes, you should not have kids. Like, dude, is it just me? I'm gonna keep saying this. Everyone's an idiot. Everyone's an idiot. I've said this all the time.
TikTok from various accounts and adds them to her list of reasons ranging from baby parasite to uterine trauma. And based on its engagements, videos have become pretty damn popular. But it does make you think, does it reflect the popular
TikTok
trend
comments,
nowadays
bro.
to bash pregnancies
Please.
to encourage women to reject motherhood.
I've also seen like a lot of people in like the public space that choose to not have kids, so it's kind of like I have a role model of women who don't want the same.
I think
outcome
just
of their
you
life
can do
that
whatever
has
you
just
want.
been kind of just
It's
like a
fine.
generational thing.
We learn a lot of things.
Don't bash
nowadays
anyone.
Based off like social media, what people decide.
I
to
only do
share.
the
Having
bashing.
children isn't always like the best option for everyone, and I think people are just starting to realize that.
And in developed countries with greater access to education and birth control, there tend to be lower fertility and birth rates. And along with it, a shift where women now have the opportunity to prioritize their own careers and goals, unlike in underdeveloped countries where family and children are the traditional focus. And with that, it made me consider another perspective. Do you feel like the societal pressure to have kids is unfair?
I live in the LA bubble where a lot of people are doing similar things to what I'm doing. They're focusing on their career.
I'm curious, like in your immediate circle, how many of them have kids?
Oh, none.
Luckily, like all my family are just
It's
like, they know
changing.
I'm going for my goals and they're not pressuring me, which is great. But I know some people get pressured.
I feel like women are kind of seen as like that's your job, that's your responsibility. And I think a lot of times people forget that like our responsibility is just to kind of enjoy the life that we're living.
Okay, both of those are wrong. It's not your responsibility to have kids. And number two is you're not actually on Earth to enjoy your life. This is a huge misconception that you're supposed to be happy. You're not supposed to be happy. You're just here to live life and deal with every emotion that comes your way. Okay, that's the meaning of life. The meaning of life is not to be happy. People think they're here for pleasure. You're not here for pleasure. Have you seen any other animal in the goddamn world? They're out there doing their duty. If you see the flippin' ants on the goddamn road carrying some random dead cockroach, all right? They're not there to have fun. Okay, they're just there to do our duty on the planet. Whatever it is, whatever you think it may be, I think everybody is gifted with some unique talent, okay? They need to explore it, and eventually they'll find it that they're really good at one particular thing, and then you can better the world in that way, right? It's ridiculous. People are super entitled. They think they're just here for a good time, and that's why they end up being unhappy, where in reality you're just here to face what comes your way, you know?
For generations, adult femininity was most correlated with having children, and not having any was putting your individual needs above the country's. Even the Pope recently criticized couples that were having pets over children in response to the declining global birth rates.
E tante coppie non hanno dei figli perché non vogliono, ma hanno due cani, due
That's
gatti.
fine, that's their choice. It's fine.
And so it's evident that both men and women now have different realities, priorities, and access. But is this what's contributing towards population collapse in many countries like America? Because for some countries, is it already too late?
Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has warned that the declining birth rate is putting the future of the country at risk.
Japan has been facing low birth rates and an aging population for several decades now, where in the past year, the number of deaths in the country has reached twice the number of births.
People have many competing priorities to weigh children against.
The Prime Minister has even issued a warning that Japan is on the brink of not being able to maintain social functions, and that the country cannot wait any longer to solve problems. And it's not just Japan.
South Korea is facing a population crisis.
Italy's decreasing population is the most pressing issue that needs to be addressed.
Many developed countries are even providing financial incentives for couples to have more children. It's to a point where even China, the world's most populated country, is now experiencing population decline caused by the impact of their one-child policy that was implemented to control overpopulation.
China did have a one-child policy, but about 10 years ago they changed it to a two-child policy. And then a few years ago they changed it to a three-child policy. China's birth rate right now is 40% below replacement.
And with the economic impact that could result if low birth rates continue in these large economies,
people can't afford to have children, man.
Traditionally isolationist countries like Japan are considering opening up their borders. And so I wanted to ask a Brazilian immigrant in America about immigration. People point to immigration as a solution
That's really
when
specific.
societies are having less kids. But do you think that also leads to societal issues? Do you think it brings more of a benefit or more of a detriment?
I think it brings both. Once they bring a lot of people from all over the world, they will need to reorganize themselves and respect their own laws and their own culture. But in a certain point, I do believe that immigration could be the problem to solve, and also family planning. It's crazy still that you see a family that is poor having 5 kids.
And so then, what's happening in these less developed countries? Underdeveloped countries like Angola and Chad have birth rates as high as 8 per woman in younger populations. But as a country gets richer, birth rates decline. Nigeria is a prime example. As their economy grew to the largest in Africa, its birth rates decreased. Not only does a growing economy change access to education and family planning, but also affords opportunities to shift attitudes towards marriage and family. And so there's a tricky balance between having enough money to have kids and a general decline in desire to have kids.
I think people just get smarter.
What does this tell us about society and what we truly value? Because when we look at these trends, what does it say about our priorities? Often it's only in hindsight when we can realize what we truly value. Do you think you'll regret it if you never had kids?
I think a lot of times people have more feelings of like, I wish I would have waited. Maybe I would have like thought things through more before having children versus people who don't have them. I feel like they less of the time like regret not having.
No, because honestly, in the past I've thought about it. Like
I think that's a very like her perspective. I think it can either go either way. People will always have regrets about their decisions because they don't know the other side. They don't know how the other side would play out. So they just kind of guess, and they're just like, hey, the other side is if I didn't make this decision, my life could have been better. When you don't know, could have been 10 times worse, you know?
Then I also have a brother, talking to him about stuff, and we're just like, I think that it would be okay if we did not. You know what I mean? I feel like the world would be okay.
Yeah, I think it's something that naturally I'd want if I had more time. If I could still have kids at like 60, 70, which maybe you might, I mean, there's probably women out there.
Oh yeah, there's a
I'm just
time
thinking
limit.
I'm probably gonna time out.
Would you be really sad if you didn't have kids?
Yes, I feel like I would. As like a nanny, I feel like I've been around them for so long, so if I didn't have them, I would be kind of a little bit upset.
I'm kind of just hoping that I won't regret it, but I could also see how maybe when I become older, like not having someone that's forced to take care of me.
Right. I mean, because we changed a lot.
Forced
right?
to take care of me?
When you started college.
Again, so some people have children for selfish reasons. They think that they'll be forced to take care of you. Just because you raised a child doesn't mean they're going to take care of you, okay? And it's like, I don't know. Depends how you raised them, okay? But they're not obligated to do anything, okay? That's my stance on it.
It's a lot different than you are who you are today, right?
Totally, yes.
Because I've also seen how my desire for wanting kids have changed as I've entered my mid-20s. Because for a long time, I didn't want kids. And call it getting older, but the biggest shift was how I started to view relationships. The Harvard study of adult development is the longest running study on happiness. And since 1938, it has tracked 268 initial participants and even their children's lives and well-being to see what made people happy. And what the study consistently found was that it wasn't money or status or the shiny car, but strong relationships with family, friends, and romantic.
Okay, so once again, I do not trust these studies at all because they're completely brain dead. Because I could go outside and ask a bunch of my friends and say, are you happy? And they'll be like, yes. But they're not happy. Like people don't know what happiness even means. If they're pleasurable on that specific day, they had a good burger, they'll be like, I'm happy. Like, again, people are dumb as hell. Okay, I don't think you can actually ask people like, are you happy or not? And then on one day they'll give you one answer, on another day they'll give you another answer, okay? These studies make no sense. You can't just ask someone, are you happy? You have to comprehensively study them and their lifestyle. Are they actually fulfilled? There's no such thing as being happy because one day you'll be happy, one day you won't. Okay, that's just the nature of life. So I don't believe like, okay, good relationships make us happier and healthier. Depends what kind of relationships. Good is also a very vague way to define it. I don't know. I don't like
partners. That was crucial not only for happiness, but for health and even resiliency.
Good.
People just believe it.
People
just believe convenient things. They're like, okay, this sounds correct. Okay, having good relationships will make me more happier than having all this monetary success. And they're like, that sounds about right because it kind of makes sense. And they're like, they'll just believe it. Okay, they've done this study. Do you see how they do the goddamn study? No, because they're surface level. Sheep. Everybody's an idiot.
And healthier.
So it made me think, does Western society's emphasis on individualism and personal achievement actually make us happier? Or is the neglect of the family unit and values and disregard for others exactly what's making our lives more challenging? Do you think like having kids is a key to having like a fulfilled life?
Well, having kids is very, very good. I love my kids. I love having kids. The first baby when I was 18 years old was a very difficult parenthood. You can imagine how a kid going to college experiencing a life of paternity. And so we went through.
Like for me, I think it's key to happiness. Like I said, they're gonna be a little fun, you know? They're gonna be annoying, of course. They're kids. I know I was annoying.
I was annoying too.
I don't think
kids are a lottery. They could grow up to be a serial killer. You don't really, you can have a little say in it, but some people are just a genetic lottery, right? You can't expect your kids to be a certain way. So it's a tough decision.
It's a hard job, and so for some people, yes, but for some people, absolutely not.
Do you regret not having more kids?
No, had a perfect 2 girls. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, what we often fail to see is that the solution is in the nuance. Just like the example of overpopulation versus the risk of collapse, it's only when we finally recognize the negative consequences of prioritizing one side over the other is when we can finally understand that 2 opposing things can coexist. And just like how I used to think that having a family would detract from my lifelong goals like building a media company, I now realize that it can actually be my biggest motivator to achieve that and even more. And it's when we decide to fearlessly navigate through the nuances of life to find what truly matters to us. That's what I call exploring the unfamiliar. And with that, thanks for watching.
Pretty good video, guys. Definitely check them out. Very thought-provoking videos. Anyways, that's it. Let me know what you thought. Do you want to have kids?